What's good, y'all? It's Cril from Out the Box. I'm back for another lyric explanation video. Today, I'm going to be looking at select lines from MC Mike's new song, Beer Trap, which is off of his brand new album entitled Showbiz, which is currently out now. As always, these lyric breakdowns are just my observation and not necessarily what the artist may have fully intended with the message of these lyrics. The analyzing of these select lyrics are certainly open to interpretation. All right, so I just wanted to put that out there. So the first lines we're going to be looking at are as follows. The lyrics go like this. Dreams of getting rich. I was poor then. Nowadays, I don't pray for ish, but for more strength. I know you waiting on me, twin. I keep a sore chest. I'm out of ways to tell you what it is or how to forget. So when he says dreams of getting rich, I was poor then. Nowadays, I don't pray for ish, but for more strength. Those lines are pretty impactful lines to start the song with. And the reason why I say that is because it's lines like these that you remember. First of all, it's the opening line, but he makes it so that the opening line is something that resonates with struggle and a struggle that's unique to his current experience. But struggle also resonates with a lot of people. It also reminds me of the Notorious B.I.G. opening line, "It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine," from his song Juicy. That's a line that stuck with fans and listeners throughout the years. And here you have Mike using the word dream in a similar way. He had dreams of getting rich. He was poor then. But then he brings it to a place currently where he's still struggling, but in a different way. It speaks to his experience with aging. It also speaks to the everyday person's relatability, right? Most people could relate to wanting to be rich even at an older age, but especially when they were younger and obviously poor. But also, a lot of people, no matter what level of financial status they have, they could relate to wanting more strength to deal with this life, right? Praying for more strength to get through life's challenges. So I think his choice of words are awesome, and his delivery of these words are equally awesome as well. It's delivered in his traditional laid back style, but it comes across impactfully. Also, he repeats the words again almost exactly the same at the end of the verse. It's just a slightly bit different. And I'll explain what I mean by that slight difference in a bit. But the bottom line is the repetitiveness makes the lines even more impactful and a lot easier for you to remember. Like when I first heard this song, those were the only lines I remembered. And these were the lines that I kept noticing over and over again, recalling this song. So let me get back to the point I was trying to make about the slight difference in that line when it's repeated at the end of the verse. So at the end of the song, instead of him saying, dreams of getting rich, I was poor then, he changes it to dreams of getting rich, I wasn't poor then. So this is actually a realization that comes at the end of the song where he tells the listener that he realizes that even though he dreamed of being rich back then, he actually wasn't poor. Maybe because of how he was satisfied mentally in life back then. Sometimes you'll hear the saying, to be rich is to be rich in happiness and mental peace, not so much financially. So I think that's the realization he comes to by way of reciting this in that closing line where he says, dreams of getting rich, I was not poor then, or I wasn't poor then. I think this is something he's been aware of for a while and since the beginning of the song, but he chooses not to deliver it until the end of the song, which is brilliant. And you have to listen closely to hear where he changes was to wasn't poor then. Also important to note, this song only has one verse. So that line pretty much closes Mike's lyrics and his artist vocals on the song. Then he goes on to say, I know you waiting on me, twin. I keep a sore chest. I'm out of ways to tell you what it is or how to forget. I have to admit, I had to look at genius.com to find out what he was saying with these lines because with an MC like Mike, it could be sometimes difficult to understand what he's saying because he has a laid back rhyme style and a fuzzy sort of vocals he displays. It's actually kind of slurred in his vocals. But what I think he's referring to when he says twin is someone who he has a lot of love and respect for. It's almost like he doesn't want to disappoint this person. Hence why he says, I know you waiting on me, twin. And then when he says, I keep a sore chest, I'm out of ways to tell you what it is or how to forget. It sounds like he's saying whatever he's going through, it's bothering his heart. Not necessarily in the literal sense, but something is troubling him. And he's out of ways to explain what it is or how to even forget the pain. So that's what I gather from those lines. Next lines. Then he goes on to say, it pains me, God, I drift. There's no remorse left. Now, these are the lines that it displays on genius.com. So I'm going to go with those words as to what he's saying. But listening to it again, listening to those lines again, he could also be saying, it pains we got drip. There's no remorse left. In the first scenario, he's talking about the pain he goes through, and he's telling God how sometimes he drifts and he doesn't have any more remorse left. And in the second scenario, he's using drip, which is another word for fashion or like dressing cool, right? So he uses drip to say that's how we deal with the pain in the hood, right? The hood gets fly with what they wear, but still don't have remorse. So I don't know which scenario makes more sense. I'd probably go with the first one because his lines so far have been reflective more of his own personal struggle and his individual challenges. So I would go with the one that says, it pains me, God, I drift. There's no remorse left. But it's a little difficult to confirm what he's saying in either scenario because the words don't seem as clear. And if the lyrics aren't coming from his actual words or a lyric sheet, that references that's what he's actually saying, is difficult, right? But I would go with the first one because that's what Genius went with. And also, it more aligns with the pain that he's talking about, his individual pain. So now moving along, he says, but I guess you bound to hate this, you was force fed. So I think this line is pretty much a continuation from the previous line about having no remorse left. To have remorse is to have regret or sadness for something you've done wrong. So this sounds more like a cause and effect kind of response he's giving. He's saying that the reason that there's no remorse left is because the circumstances he was given or the things that he was led to believe, hence the words force fed. So there appears to be an underlying dissatisfaction with what's being pushed upon him. It could be a societal pressure or a specific situation that he's responding to. Whatever it is, there's a realization happening there as to why his behavior is the way it is. It's pretty vague, but I think you can follow the emotions if you pay close attention to the lyrics. What's also interesting about this entire verse is that at the end of every line, it rhymes with the sounds or and. So even though it may sometimes be difficult to understand every word he's saying, you're able to follow his repetitive delivery and flow, as well as the same rhyme sounds he closes each line with. So that sticks with you throughout the entire song. Okay, next lines. That sour tastes bitter, how I'm on best. I'm down to take a trip, but I'm a tour vet. So the first line where he says sour, he's talking about weed. Sour diesel in this instance, he's saying it tastes bitter. So bitter might just mean it balances him out, right? You got sour and bitter, two different types of taste. So it helps him to mourn best. It helps him to get through losing certain people who may have passed away in his life. Now, the next line, I'm down to take a trip, but I'm a tour vet, is a pretty clever line. He's talking about a psychedelic trip, but then he switches to say, but he's a tour vet. There's an obvious double entendre happening here, right? He's saying he's down to take a psychedelic trip, but he's also really versed in traveling because he does a lot of tours. Hence, he's a tour vet. So there's two scenarios I'll explain. So in the first scenario, he's saying, but I'm a tour vet, meaning he doesn't really need to take a psychedelic trip like that because he's already, you know, traveled around the world. He's already physically, seen other places around the world. So that's already satisfying to him, hence the words tour vet. But in the other scenario, he's also saying he's committed to touring. He's committed to the artistry, hence the words tour vet. Either way, he's saying the physical travel is just a bit more satisfying to him in this situation. So yeah, man, that is about it for the lyric explanation video today. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the breakdowns and the explanations. And I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like, what you see and what you hear. It was awesome speaking to you all again. Thank you for tuning in to my video lyric explain on Out the Box Media. Catch you on the next video. Take it easy.